The January 17th, 2017 workshop is called to order at 6:01 p.m. We have a quorum with Mr. Rosales, Mr. Ramirez, Mrs. Woodruff, Mrs. McLean, Ms. Duenas, and myself, Connie Woodruff. Secretary Duenas, will you please lead us in the pledges and a moment of silence?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated.
Okay, using electronic voting, may I please have a motion on the order of the agenda? It's not there. Oh, wait, there we go. Yes, okay, sorry about that. We'll give you a second. But then there are. Okay, so we still need Ms. Duenas and Mr. Rosales. You need to vote on the approval of the agenda? Order of the agenda? What do we do about Mr. Haggerty? Oh. But it's holding it. All right. Okay, so the motion passes 5-0. Dr. Delatorre, do you have reports for the board?
Chairman Woodruff, members of the board, guests, our first presentation is a bond update presentation that will be presented by Mr. Pat O'Neill.
May I make a comment, please? I want to say to everyone on the board, please address your comments and questions to the posted items on the agenda. In this case, bond update presentation means bond projects. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Delatorre, Ms. Woodruff, members of the board. Happy New Year. Good to see everybody. I'm here today to give us our January bond update report. If you will follow along with me as far as the organizational structure, there's been no change from last month. Our current bond projects that are under construction, you have the athletic enhancements at the 7 high schools, the new Bel Air Middle School, Eastwood Knolls addition and renovation, Tierra del Sol Desert Air, additions and renovations. Thomas Manor Elementary is in a demolition stage, and then Rio Bravo and Ysleta Middle School additions and renovations. First ones I'd like to talk about very quickly is the new softball field at Scottsdale Elementary. These pictures are from last week. They haven't been updated, but over the weekend, Saturday and yesterday, they're working feverishly to get this project done. This is the Eastwood softball field. Originally, we were hoping to have it on the campus of Eastwood High School, but it didn't work. We tried every which way, moved it, played with it, but we just couldn't get it on campus. So it's a little bit further behind than the other ones. It should be completed the first week of February. Their first game is February the 14th at home, and it will be ready to go for the first game. But that gives you a little bit of an update on the Scottsdale Eastwood High School softball field. All right, as far as the turf, we're 100% complete. Received many, many compliments on the design of the fields and then the quality of the fields. Want to look real quick at the baseball and softball field, and here's a couple of drawings for you. You could look on your left, moving to your right. That red turf is the batting cages. There'll be nets that will be strung over there, and it's for the baseball team. One of a kind. Nobody else
Mr.
has
O'Neill?
batting cage. Yes, ma'am.
Can you hold on a minute, because I'm not getting the pictures you're getting on the
Okay.
screen. Can I get some help over here?
And as we get Mrs. Duenas' screen up, last meeting there was concerns about ruts in the field because of all the traffic that had been going back and forth as far as putting up the fences and the lights and the netting. All right, I can tell you now, I've walked those fields, ruts have been removed, and what you will see and throughout these pictures is what looks dark. What that is compost. All right, Hellas went in, we went in, and we overseeded those with winter rise. So when it comes time for the season, the fields will all be nice and green. So it's not an error, that's the way they look because of the compost. And with all the rain, it's being very helpful, helping the compost, soak in and take and do what it's supposed to do. Are we good, Ms. Duenas?
Yes.
We're ready to proceed? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
All righty. All right, the middle picture there is a shot of the outfield, and it's that compost I was talking to you about, that dark area. But the ruts have been removed from the field. Wanted to give you a couple more pictures, just let you know how things are going. At the top 3 pictures are from the softball field. That is the brand new scoreboard that came along with the renovations for the field. Showed you the middle picture is the dugout, because what we had placed is not only black vinyl fence down each one of the baselines, but also this black vinyl fence was placed in front of the dugout so that you have a consistent look to the entire facility. The last picture on your right is standing up from the bleachers, looking down onto the field, looking through home plate to the outfield fence and the scoreboard. The baseball field is next one. Once again, just showing you what it looks like if you were sitting up in the grandstands. The middle photo is the Bel Air scoreboard. And then the other picture is just a different look from behind the backstop looking down the line. Project's moving very nicely. Like I said, there's punch list items, and we've been doing punch list off and on. It's ongoing. And we haven't done an official punch list yet, but we have our project managers, we have VLK out there walking the fields, making sure, it's so detailed. If there's a screw missing in the fence, we've made note of it. We're meeting with Hellas. We were kind of not real pleased with the progress, and so we contacted the home office, and they have sent additional assistance out to make sure the projects get done on time and are complete.
Mr.
Yes,
O'Neill,
ma'am.
are these new pictures? They're not on our packet, right?
No, ma'am, because we took them Friday. Okay, because if you look on the bottom right-hand corner of each one of the pictures, it says 113, okay? But there's even been more progress because they worked on Saturday and then on Monday. So they're even further along. But these two are almost complete. If we had to go out right now, we can start. As I mentioned, I don't think I mentioned, but softball practice starts on the 20th. Baseball practice starts on the 27th. If they had to get on those fields right now, we could do it. All right, looking at the Del Valle, we know the turf is complete. All right, going over and looking at some of the baseball, the picture on your left is that black vinyl fence that's very attractive, really adds a great appearance to the school. The middle picture is the batting tunnel, and that is the baseball. And that's right to the west of the tennis courts. That's where the school chose to put it. And it's great access for both baseball and softball. This is baseball's, softball's right behind it. On the right is a picture from the third base line looking down towards home plate on the baseball field.
Mr. O'Neill, could you go back, please?
Yes, sir. You want?
That one right there. On that far right picture, I guess along that third base line, it's got a drainage problem there, or is that just from all the rain and just a little more than they could handle?
It's all the rain, just the fields are saturated right now. They're wet. You know, we just had a great deal of rain. Like I said, it's kind of been a blessing in it. It's helping with that winter rye. Yes, sir. All right, looking at the softball field, each one of these, I'm not going to go, you could look at them, but we wanted to give you a little taste of the work that's been done since last month. But you can see the project's moving right along. Everything is very nice. The kids are excited. I can tell you the coaches have told me, several coaches, that their field has never looked this good, and they can't wait till the start of the season.
Mr. O'Neill, on
Ma'am.
the picture right in the middle of top row,
Yes, ma'am, the
is
softball.
that sand mixed with that red dirt?
Yes, it hadn't been drug yet. We dragged it one time, but once we start dragging, we have what is called a nail drag that really digs down into it, and it'll mix everything together. And then you come back with a smaller drag that smooths and levels everything, okay? But you're right, that's dirt from when they dug up and they did the footing for the CMU wall. One thing, I'm glad you brought me back to that, that was not ADA compliant. If you notice, there is no sidewalk. We are going to add a sidewalk. The forms are up right now, so we'll make that field ADA compliant. Eastwood High School, you're not going to anything. I already showed you Scottsdale. The baseball, of course, we're going to have to wait till the school's been reconstructed. All right, Hanks, shot of the Hanks football field. There's some looks at the different. Now, you notice there's not a bunch of compost on this field because there wasn't need a bunch of compost. The grass there is probably 2 years ago, the baseball coach did a great job as far as fertilizing, doing a lot of things. His grass is very, very plush. And as it gets a little bit warmer, it'll turn green, but his probably has got the best outfield in the district. Couple more pictures, just give you a taste of what's going on at the fields. How the scoreboards have added a nice look to the fields. Really a great look. We're proud of it because there is nobody else in the city that's going to have it. Then you have the shot on the bottom looking from the dugout, looking and seeing that fence, because I know there was concern, hey, those fences up in front of the dugouts aren't there. They're there now.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
can I ask a question?
Yes.
In regards to, excuse me, and this goes for all the schools, they had advertisements on the, will they continue, or is it something we're going to do away with?
Okay, they can put advertising down the first and third base lines, and just hook those vinyl fencing.
vinyl, okay, there
Yes,
you
sir.
go.
We do not want them putting anything into those outfield fences to damage the fence. So it's going to be that nice green look. We are going to come back and measure the distance, like, the Major League Parks, you see 310 feet marker down the left field. And so we want to add that down center. Like I
Thank you.
said,
Very good.
yes, sir. We want this to be awesome. All right, Parkland High School. You could look. These are all from the baseball field, these three pictures. Lots of compost. This was an area that had been driven over a bunch because of the location of the batting cages. If you get a chance, go out there. The only way they could access the batting cages is to drive across the field. But after they completed that, we made them get off. We've locked the gate. They can no longer drive out on that field for whatever reason. We changed the lock so we have the only keys, because that 800 keys kind of floating around. So we'll make sure they stay off it for right now. All right, just some more looks at the baseball and softball field, showing you the fence in front of the dugout and the different compost and what theirs has got a yellow turf. It matches the end zone of the field. Lots of compost, lots of winter rye. Riverside High School, home of the Rangers. Just some pictures. If you look on that right-hand picture, it was brought to our attention that the dugouts were unstable, so we went out and did a little bit of investigating. And this one is a picture of the baseball field on the right-hand side. And it had rusted out, and so we're going to replace just the roof. That's all that needs to be replaced. If you look inside the dugout, there is a small set of bleachers, and the question is, where did those come from? What happened to them? And we really didn't know, so we went and talked to the former baseball coach. Okay, coach, when did those get there? What happened to them? And he said they'd been in there for 3 or 4 years. That the school, a couple years ago, had gone ahead and done the backstop themselves, and somebody had moved them. And so he just put them in the dugout. So it wasn't Hellas, it wasn't us, it was the baseball coach had made a decision. He wanted to put some seating. So those are the bleachers. All right, some more pictures. Up the top, you can see the softball field, their batting cage, a look from the bleachers looking down onto the field. You see it's very green. It's come out, the softball field's come out very, very nicely. Down at the bottom is the baseball field, once again showing you the dugout. It needed a new roof. It had rusted out, so they're going to get a new roof. And while I'm talking, we evaluated each one of the dugouts. I can tell you at the softball field at Ysleta High School, it needed a paint job. It needed a lot of work, so we're taking care of that. Now, what we've asked the coaches to do is we're going to supply the paint for them, and they're going to paint the dugouts. Because why have a gorgeous field, and then you have a dugout with a bunch of peeling paint? And so they've taken ownership, and they're going to get that done for us. We'll supply the paint. They tell us the colors, what their needs are. We give them the materials, and then the kids and the coaches will go ahead and paint the dugouts. But this is Riverside High School. Ysleta. We've talked about the maroon turf, and we made a deal, and we've done some things there to make everybody happy. Looking at the baseball and softball field. The pictures I'm going to show you next are the up-to-date pictures taken from last Friday. You can see the scoreboard. The baseball scoreboard's turned on. It's been tested. They're all ready to go. Mr. Ramirez, what color is that turf in that? What does that show you? It looks maroon to me. It's maroon to me, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, that's the baseball field. All right, moving right along. Let's keep this thing moving. Bel Air Middle School, right now the demolition is complete. If you go online, you could look at our cameras, see the progress that it's making. They are out surveying, getting ready. They're mobilizing, getting ready to just start doing the excavation. And there's some pictures. Eastwood Knolls, they're getting a brand new gym. And we're going to remodel the old cafeteria area into a fine arts, and they're also getting some life cycle work. We're right along. The gym they're doing the electrical and the plumbing, the underground work, and they're ready to lay a slab. And here's some additional pictures. You can see the stud framing that they're doing in the fine arts. The middle picture, that used to be the stage. So we're taking the stage down, making it floor level so we could extend the size of that room and make it more usable for the school. This will become the swing space once we start with the roof and the other renovations in the classrooms. Tierra del Sol Middle School is getting a brand new cafeteria. You've seen these pictures before. They're also getting life cycle work, and that's moving right along. You could see some of the construction work that's currently going on at Tierra.
Where's Tierra?
Tierra is in the Hanks feeder pattern. Hanks High School sits on the corner of Lee Trevino and Montwood. If you would continue on Montwood heading east, you go down through the first light, right past there, you kind of turn the corner and you'll see the school on your right. Desert Air Elementary. Moving right along. This is Thomas Manor. I'm sorry, that's Desert Air. And then this is Thomas Manor. They're 85% complete with the demolition. There was some additional abatement that needed to be done, so the demolition put us a little bit behind, but we've caught up. We're in good shape with that project. We will start construction this late May, June.
Mr. O'Neill, in
Sir.
regards to Thomas Manor, during the meetings that I, at least one of them that I attended, there was quite a bit of conversation regarding the pond that had been kind of locked by the Texas Department of Transportation. Has that issue been resolved?
We, as far as them working with the water utility people, I know
No.
that.
The pond that
You were going to talk to the city of El Paso and arrange with the city's manager's office to see.
Let me make
what-
my point, and then she can speak. My point is that we were in the process of looking at the edge of where the ponding was supposed to be, but with the understanding that there was an agreement going to be with the Department of Transportation so that drainage could go out to the river, which was cut off when the border highway apparently was built. Has that arrangement been taken care of?
That, I know there's been a lot of conversation since it really doesn't involve us. No. And I think where it comes in with us is, remember, we wanted to come into an agreement with them where we could drain our water
Exactly,
down
yes.
into the park area.
Right.
Okay, we're in the process of still working through that. In fact, we talked about it today at our owners' meeting because we want to know, okay, what's the status? Because other than everybody saying, yeah, let's do this, we haven't heard much lately. So we're going to go ahead and set up the meeting. But in the meantime, we're also looking to take care of water ourselves in property if for some reason that deal does not work.
And what would that be?
Sir?
Where would you drain?
That would
to?
be to the, what's the name of the street? It's to the
Midway?
left of the property, on the west side of the property.
Okay.
Is it Knight?
No.
I think it's Knight.
It's nights.
Yeah.
And it's going towards Border Freeway.
Yes.
But according to what I hear, the new improvements and stuff, I don't think they've heard from you all at City Hall.
No,
So
ma'am.
I don't know what, can you bring us up to date on that?
Absolutely. And like I said, we haven't had any meetings, we hadn't had any conversation, but we're going to go ahead and reach
Right.
out to them. We attended a couple community meetings that they had there at the shelter. And like I said, everybody was excited. We said, yes, we want to go forward with you. We want to partner with you. But then we haven't heard anything lately. So we are going to reach out and request a meeting to see where we're at with this project, because we're still very much interested.
Mr. O'Neill, I heard that you all were there on November, I believe.
There was 2 meetings, yes, ma'am.
Right. And I didn't attend that. I didn't know anything about it. But I did go this month. And I was surprised to hear, and I was very happy to hear that you all promised them that the name of the school and the mascot will not change. Is that right?
No, ma'am, I didn't make any promises. 'cause
That's what they said.
They mentioned my name,
Yes,
huh?
yes,
Okay.
yes. And the superintendent, they said both of you were there and that you all had promised them that the name was not going to be changed.
Before we'd ever change the name of a school, we'd bring it to the board
Right.
and get their permission. We wouldn't.
Yeah, because they don't want it changed. They have a lot of exes
there. No, the
that are very
the
proud of
community
that
has
school.
been very clear on that. That's the
Right.
message.
Ms.
But of
O'Neill.
course, it'd be up to the board. The board would give us direction. But at this point, we're not going to make a recommendation to change the name of the school.
And again, not to belabor the point, but I want to make sure that as we spend this money and this drainage has not been worked out, I would not want to spend money and then 2, 3, or 4 months from now, 6 months from now, well, in order to rearrange what we thought we could do, we're going to need X number more dollars. And if we're going to do these things, I'd rather take time now to get the arrangements done instead of completing the project and then coming back and say, well, we've got to do some modifications.
No,
Because again,
absolutely.
we've got to be as prudent as we can.
No,
And I'm not saying
absolutely.
you're not, it's just something that, I thought this thing had been worked out with the city and the state.
Now, if they've moved forward, they have not told us anything. Like I said, we've attended a couple meetings, but it was more talk about, just to give the community an opportunity to hear what the proposal was. At the first meeting we had at Riverside High School, which you attended, there was a lot of conversation about the drainage and the problems that had occurred in the past. The last two meetings was more about the site itself and could the community support this? And the meeting I attended, yes. The other meeting, we had somebody from VLK because we also had a board meeting that night and we could not attend.
Would you just keep us abreast as to what's going on?
Absolutely enough. With Dr. Delatorre's guidance, we'll go ahead and send a little BC, give you an update this weekend, included as part of the packet.
Thank you.
Mr. O'Neill, I have
Ma'am.
another question that I was brought to my attention on that day of their neighborhood association meeting. And they're very close, they're very united, and that's one of the biggest election precinct in my district. But they did bring up to me that maybe you might want to find out with the city of El Paso that they're going to close the drain and just cover up the hole where the ponding area was. Please find out, because it's not a very good sight to know that after all we're doing, and it's going to remain as a hole without a drain.
Yes, ma'am. We'll get that information, let everybody know. But you're right. That's one of the things when we have meetings with the architects and everyone, this is our legacy. It's your legacy. It's our legacy, is how we build these properties and these schools. And the one that jumped out at us, we really talked about and made sure BTC and the architects, was the combo school. Because we don't want to build a school in 25 years. People say, what in the world were those people thinking of? Look at the cracks in that building. There's all sorts of structural issues. So that's going to be our legacy, and we take that very serious, the superintendent, VLK, all of us. That we want to build schools that in 25 years they want to say, hey, that is the best school design. They did a wonderful job. So we do need to be thorough. We need to pay attention to detail.
Pat, is one of the challenges that both the district, the architect, the city support the proposal that we heard at that first meeting, but that neighborhood association is skeptical and wants assurances. So what the city's doing, as I understand it, is they're trying to be responsive to the neighborhood association, not to the district or to the architect or VLK. It's how adamant members of that neighborhood were relative to having the drainage behind one of the streets where it was right behind people's backyards was one issue that was brought up, and the other was that they didn't have a lot of faith and confidence in the city following through with the plan that they presented. So I think, from what I heard, it was trying to be respectful of the neighborhood association and people in that neighborhood, and not just make a unilateral decision and ignore all of their concerns. So really what we're waiting on is, at what point does the city re-engage the neighborhood association, and will the neighborhood association at some point agree to give the city an opportunity to go forward with their plan? Or at some point, does the city say, we understand that this isn't ideal for you, but we're going to move forward anyway? So that's kind of what we're waiting on.
Yeah, because there is a pump there. There is a pump, but it's not working.
That is correct.
And but from what I hear, that they have found out, working with the city of El Paso, being close to them, they said that it might be closed completely and just cover up the whole of the ponding area.
So there will be no ponding area?
Right. So we're stuck with a big hole as a park.
Well, under that premise, then you'd inundate Ninth
You'd
Street.
flood nights and into the...
Yeah, it always is flooded anyway, is it?
But without drainages, we can't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If they
Pump it out
decide to
to
cover up the
Ninth.
pond, then all that water goes out to the street.
What we'll do is we'll have Mr. O'Neill reach out and
Right.
find out
That's why I
when they
was-
plan to make the decision.
Yeah,
Right.
please.
Yes, sir.
That's why I was bringing it up, Mr. O'Neill, if you
Thank
can
you.
follow up on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Sure will. We'll get you something by this weekend.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's Thomas Manor, moving right along. almost finished with the design work. Rio Bravo is getting a new gymnasium to make them more in line with the other middle schools, and some life cycle work. Construction has just started there. You could look at some of the pictures. That will have a new ponding area. Speaking of ponding, it'll be in the front of the school. The Ysleta Middle School, we're taking the old, not the current cafeteria, but the old cafeteria, and creating a fine arts area very similar to what's happening at Eastwood Knolls.
You guys,
And there are some pictures of the framing that's going on.
great.
Be very nice.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes, ma'am.
what are the kids doing for a cafeteria right now?
They're using their current cafeteria. This is the old one. You remember how it used to be a combination gym, auditorium, cafeteria?
Right, right.
They kept it as an auditorium, but really didn't use it, you know? So now it'll be very practical, very usable, because they're going in there, creating new spaces, band hall, and different things.
Wow. That's
Thank you.
So it is going to be very much needed for that school. Parkland Middle School. Some pictures. Weather has kind of put this project behind by 5 days. If Mr. Haggerty was going to be here, I was going to get him on him about stopping the rain out in Northeast. But you all will send him the word that he needs to do a rain dance and get it to stop raining. But they're 5 days behind, but they've submitted a plan where they're going to catch up, because the academic area is ready to be turned over in the middle of August. The administration area will be ready to turn over in October. But when kids come back from school, we'll have the school ready to go. Because remember, currently what we have is the sixth graders out at all the elementaries. So we're already starting the planning process, meeting with the different principals and getting ready to move those fifth graders. Instead of staying at their elementary for another year, they will come back to Parkland Middle School. But that project's moving right along. Where we're at is they've done the electrical work, they've done the plumbing, but they can't do any lay the slab yet because of all the rain. So as soon as it dries out, we're going to get in there and get after that. All right, currently under design and procurement, you get look at those projects: the Combo School, Thomas Manor, Hanks High School with their renovations and improvements, Eastwood High School, and then new cafeteria for Lancaster and LeBaron, and some renovations, life cycle work for those projects. As we talked about, yes, sir.
In regards to Eastwood, when do we physically see the portables and all this coming into?
All right, we're talking about moving portables at the end of next month. Okay. Then what we're going to do is that come June, the last day of school, we're going to start. We've already started meeting with the administration. We met a couple meetings with faculty. We're going to have them box up everything and get it ready to move into portables. Yes, sir. The only one we're working on is with Mount Hope right across the street. Okay, they prefer not having students, and we don't have a problem with that in first couple years. But then we're looking to, hey, let's keep an open mind, because eventually we might want to park some students over there, try and get them off of Debbie Lewis Way and out of the neighborhoods. So we're working with them, but as far as everything else, it's going very smoothly. We're going to start sending letters out to the students and the parents, letting them know about the parking situation once everything's finalized. The Combo School, we meet every 2 weeks. BTC, the owner of BTC, comes into town. We're having a big meeting tomorrow. We start off with the elementary school at 7:30, and then we bring in the middle school right after there, and we've been talking about that project. Traffic's going to be a real challenge at that school, but we have already started redesigning the traffic flow, and it's going very smoothly. One of the things that we'll probably have to do next year is maybe start the middle school a little bit later to make sure all that elementary traffic gets through before the middle school traffic shows up. So we're going to discuss that. It's one of the things that's on our agenda, to talk to the two principals about it, get their input and say what is the best way to handle the traffic.
Probably the same thing needs to be true of dismissal.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we'll push the whole day back. Remember, the state a couple years ago, 2 years ago, changed, said you got to be in school 72,500 minutes a year. So we need to make sure that our schedule corresponds. But you're exactly right. Some diagrams which you have seen in the past for the schools, the new Thomas Manor, There's a good look at it. You can see that area off of Knights would have a ponding area to it.
Oh, is that it?
Ma'am,
The other picture?
that is a draft of what it would look like. Yes, ma'am, that's the drawing.
But the other one,
The previous.
the previous?
Oh, you want this one?
Yes.
No,
Oh,
the
okay.
previous.
Oh, I'm sorry, back.
No, it was that one.
Okay.
No, that one.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what it's going to look like?
That's, right now, that's what the inside of the school is going to look like. Is that not gorgeous? Open
Yes.
space, something those kids will, and teachers will be very excited. You can see there's gallery space, the library and media center, what a typical classroom would look like. Very open. You've heard us preach and preach about 21st century learning. This will help that go along because it allows for collaboration, being able to have that mobile, flexible furniture where you can move, kids can work in groups. You know, in the old days when I was teaching, it was straight lines and don't talk unless I ask you. But those days have changed. You go into any of our classrooms, you see the kids are talking, they're actively engaged, they're having fun learning. It's an entirely different ballgame. Schools such as this contribute to that. Makes it possible.
The association is already thinking of trying to get speed humps for the front of the school.
Very
So-
nice.
They like it.
One of the things that I think is very unique, the people, and you know this, that are designing this school, the architects are graduates of Riverside High School. Isn't that neat? That's what it's all about, them giving back, coming back, and being a part of it, and they've taken that work very serious. Hanks High School is going to go ahead and get renovations, some improvements, bathroom fixtures, but those are all things, gym renovations. Yes, sir.
Reference Hanks High School. I've gone over to their theater for several of their programs, and they have to turn off the air in the summertime or in the springtime. They have to turn off the air conditioner so you can hear the performers. So does that mean they're going to get rid of the swamp coolers and get their
We would
refrigerator?
love to get rid of the swamp coolers, but right now it's a like for like.
Okay.
So if there's swamp coolers up on top, then it needs to be replaced, yes, sir. But we've got some long-term plans to do some things, and that we'll be coming back to you all with.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Eastwood High School, we've talked about Eastwood High School. We will start moving
Ms. McLean
immediately.
has a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. McLean has.
Can you expand a little bit on that? So if the plan right now is to replace like with like, and you've got plans to modify that, so will that be prior to the like-for-like exchange or afterwards?
Yes, ma'am. And I think it was 2 months ago we had brought to you when we asked for additional funds so that we could have the architects add on to their drawings as far as converting Eastwood Knolls from HVAC, from swamp coolers to refrigerated air. So we're looking at maybe a proposal that we come to you all and say, okay, when we redo a roof, just as we did at Loma Terrace, and you all approved 3 years ago, said, you know what, this is time to make the change. So those are some of the things that we're looking at that we'll be, talking about in the near future, and that's what I was referencing. Trying to be forward-thinking, thinking ahead, what's the best value for the district, because you're exactly right. Why put swamp coolers up there if in 2 years later you're going to come back and say, hey, why don't we do refrigerated air? But we're working.
And that's true. However, the current plan would be just to take care of the elementary schools. We did the math, and if we get some residual money at the end of the bond program and we can move up into the middle schools, then we would. But our primary goal or our primary recommendation to the board would be that anytime we get a chance to convert from evaporative cooling to refrigerated air at an elementary school, that either we front the money and wait for the recapture, and by that I mean the savings from ABM, use fund balance, that we can either pay back with additional bond money at the end of the bond program in 5 years, or use a combination of fund balance, residual bond money, and ABM savings to try to get all of the remaining elementary schools. But because we don't have any recapture from ABM yet, they're still installing all of the energy efficient mechanical tools. We can't rely on that yet. We haven't recovered it. We may have to use fund balance initially. And then one of the things that I think we're going to recommend is, even though to date, we may have close to $20 million in savings from bond projects that came in significantly under budget. We probably don't want to spend them right away until we feel better about all of our bond projects coming in under budget, so that we don't spend it and then find out toward the tail end that the price of something has gone up significantly or that there's been a catastrophic event. That was the case, I think, several years ago when Hurricane Katrina hit, and anyone who had a bond was immediately over budget because the price of steel and labor and everything else went through the roof. And so those things you can't predict. So we're going to try and hold on to our bond savings until we get to the tail end, and then either the board can pay back any money that was taken from fund balance to install the refrigerated air, or if it isn't excessive, we can go ahead and use some of the fund balance for some early projects and then begin to sort of bleed out the savings from bond projects to pay for refrigerated air as we go through these elementary schools.
I guess my next question is, given that, what Dr. De La Torre just said and what you just said, what is the big plan then in the interim when that decision has not been made and we haven't realized those savings, right? What will you do in the interim when some of this work calls for the replacement of these HVAC units like for like? So what is the plan there?
So on your board agenda next month will be Eastwood Knolls. And we'll ask the board to pay the difference between what was allocated for the evaporative cooling and what the cost of making that refrigerated air would be, and it will be probably in excess of $1 million, and ask the board to give us permission to use fund balance to do that project with either the idea of paying it back with residual bond monies, savings, or just spending it.
So we're going to do it on a project-by-project basis?
We almost have to.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. How are you going to go about this? Are you going to go by each one school at a time from each district? Or how are you actually going to go about
So
it?
we're following VLK's schedule, and what they've got is they've got a timeline with all of the schools that we're going to do the end-of-life cycle remodernization. When we get to that school, we look at two things. One, we look at the age of the roof. And if the age of the roof means that it was planned for replacement, then we'll come to the board and say, we're going to replace the roof, and by the way, they have X number of units that are evaporative cooling that would cost us an additional will you give us permission to either use fund balance or bond monies, depending on where we are in the bond program, to do that. So we haven't designed it to be a rotation so that every learning community is getting one at the same time, although we've discussed that could be a way to we could rearrange the projects so that, worst case scenario, if we ever run out of money and don't have money, that each of the learning communities would have the same number of elementary schools that got refrigerated air, and we wouldn't have that finger pointing going back and forth as to, well, why did this particular area get more schools with refrigerated air than that area? But one of the things that we have to recognize is that as it sits right now, you have some learning communities that already have more refrigerated air than others. Then you have to take into consideration the number of students that are being served in each of these learning communities, because you want to have the greatest impact on students you can. And so you may want to put refrigerated air at a school with 280 students, but you may also have another school at the same time that has 1,000 students. Then we'd have to discuss whether or not it makes more sense to put the refrigerated air where we have 1,000 elementary school students instead of 200 elementary school students. That's why I think that the only way we can possibly do this is to be very strategic, very deliberate, very thoughtful as we move through the bond projects and we begin to install the evaporative cooling systems as to, is now the right time to do that project? Is now the right time to move from evaporative cooling to refrigerated air? Can we afford it? Are we continuing to see savings from all of our bond projects that give us confidence and the board confidence to know that they're going to have $20, $30, $40 million at the end of the bond program like the neighbors did? So it will have to become all about communication and transparency relative to when you all make that investment. And the first one that we're going to ask you to make, of course, is Eastwood Knolls is not it wasn't planned to have refrigerated air. However, we're doing a remodernization, new roof. Do we go ahead and take the $600,000 that the voters approved, add the $1.3 million or $4 million that it will cost to make it refrigerated air from our own fund balance? Because once we start that, we've basically made a commitment to try and do that for every elementary school in the district. Or The conservative thing would be, sorry, it was like for like, stay with like for like. And once we do that, then we have to go back out and stay with like for the rest of the bond program. But because we have so many schools out there that already have refrigerated air, we will have basically two standards. And we'll even have some schools, I believe, that will have both evaporative cooling and refrigerated air in the same building. And as you know, they work against one another.
Right.
So then you add the layer of electricity rates going up, and you find yourself, you couldn't find a more challenging job than the Ysleta Independent School District Superintendent of Schools. Maybe NASA or something like that.
Because I know by putting that, you would also have to put on some of the schools, windows.
Well, that's part of the bond, though. The outer envelope is part of a lot of bond projects that we have out there where we would do the redo windows and things like that already.
Ms. McLean?
So given this information, and I really enjoy all of this information and all of these questions, would it be possible that before we get to the point where we are looking at doing Eastwood Knolls, that we have as a board the information with regard to the different options? And I know that there's a lot of, unknowns
Variables.
and a lot of questions, but if we would have the long-term plan for the whole district, I think that would be beneficial to me. I don't know if the other board members would feel the same way, but, so that we have that information prior to the first one,
One of the beauties of working with you all so closely the last couple of years, we anticipated that question. And that, yes, ma'am, we do have that information.
Did you say one of the beauties?
Yes,
I just want to make, okay.
I heard that.
And then there is another option that is also, and that is that you just make the decision to, if you have, a $90 million fund balance, you take 10 from there. Ms. Leeper can go out and secure almost a zero-interest loan and add another 10 or 15, and then you're almost certain to make up the $36 million that we would need, right? Mr. VLK?
Uh-oh.
That was the delta when we went out for the bond. One cost 60-some million dollars, the other one cost 30-some million dollars. So there appears to be a $30 million discrepancy. How do we piece together guaranteed monies to have $30 million there and know that we're going to be able to complete every project? And that way up front, we know we're taking out one of these government loans that are, I think, very favorable because of the nature of the loan. Your $92 million becomes $80 million, excuse me. Your ABM guarantee is built into it, and then your bond recapture, you take a conservative look at it. You don't put out there what's out there. You take maybe 60% of that and say that will certainly still be there, and you say we're going to have a pot of money of $40 million, and we guarantee the board that we can do it with the $40 million. And I know I explained it much simpler than it really is, Ms. Leeper, because CFOs don't like to do these quilts. But, yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll sit down and we'll put together a plan with all the information the board needs between now and February 8th. Now, if February 8th is critical in that if we don't bring it to the board by the 8th, now we're putting the contractor behind schedule. And that comes with, yeah, so we're going to work hard and get something to you by early February.
yes, sir.
Mr. Ramirez.
Ms. McLean, I think that's an excellent idea. The only comment, and just to echo what Dr. Latorre, was that since Eastwood Knolls has ongoing work already, and they're already kind of in the groove, as they say, that we not interfere with them. But I absolutely agree with you. I think that's a wonderful idea. And since Mr. O'Neill is so quick to provide that data, then
Ready to go.
He's ready.
He'll be leaving in a moment. I'm taking all these people with him.
Okay, let's finish this up very quickly. Construction documents for Hanks High School, we're at 34% complete. Eastwood High School, we've talked about that project's moving along very nicely. Construction documents are at 50%. Everything going good there. We meet every other week. We're continuing to talk. All right, there's just some renditions of what the inside of the school could possibly look like and will look like. Like I said, as you drive down and go in front, you drive down McRae, like I said, you'll drive right by that school and think you missed it. You'll be looking for the old Eastwood High School. We're going to inconvenience the students and the adults for 2 years, really not even 2 years. about 18 months, but when it's all said and done, it'll be something to behold that we could all be proud of. Lancaster is going to get that new cafeteria. The schematic designs are 100%. They're working on the construction documents. LeBaron's getting the new cafeteria. Remember, these were the two schools that were left out from the 2004, but the board had committed to come back and give these schools, and so you're just fulfilling that commitment that your predecessors had made a couple years ago. So we're holding true to what we tell our community.
Are these standalone?
Yes, ma'am.
They are?
We talked about connecting it to the building, but we think it's best that we've got great locations for them, that they'll be standalone buildings. Completed projects, real quickly, the auxiliary gym we've talked about, we're closing out, that project's almost done. The district-wide security, we're coming back to you and asking you to approve for 2 schools tonight to add. We did not put the combo schools originally, but you know, safety is so important. How can we not, for 2 years that we're building, not have that secure entry? So we are going to ask you all to look and recommend that you do approve that. Now, when it's said and done, we'll go ahead and be able to take those off, maybe place them in another school, use them as replacement parts, so we're not going to waste the money. It's going to go to good use. You can see the district center, and one of the things we do is I buzz every time. When the security had offered me a badge to get in, I said no. I think it's very important, and I've mentioned to you this before, that we role model for everybody. So as it might be a little bit of inconvenience to have to check in, wear a badge, but that's okay. We're modeling for our students and our community. But it's gone over very well. Received a lot of good comments about our secure entry and then our visitor management system. Structural remediation at Riverside High School.
Mr. Ramirez has
Ma'am.
a question.
Mrs. O'Neill, what was the school that we visited? Vista Hills, I'm sorry. I had Vista del Sol, but Vista Hills, there was some discussion about modifying that because they actually have 2 main entrances to that school. Was there any discussion on that?
That's on tonight, on the agenda.
Okay.
That and Ysleta High School, because most of the visitor parking, in fact, all the visiting parking is on the northwest side of the campus over by the power plant. And that's where everybody comes in. Well, right now, they keep that door open. And they've got somebody, that's a long hallway that they kind of watch. So we would recommend that we put one there for Ysleta High School, so they have 2 entries, and then do the same thing for Vista Hills. Vista Hills, the situation is many of our parents, grandparents, a little bit older, they might, that's where the handicap parking is. And then to ask them to go all the way to the front of the school is kind of tough on some of our community members. So by putting it at Vista Hills, we'll be able to access and let them in.
And at least one trustee who was 4-wheeling one day.
One going there.
Okay.
All right, Riverside Middle School, it is complete. We're looking at that main hallway to see what we can do. VLK is talking to different people to see, because it ripples a little bit. We have not made a final payment on that project, so we're still good there. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. O'Neill, going back to Riverside, have you checked on that wall that is leaking?
Yes, what?
And then there is some cracks that are on the hallway. As you see here on the hallway, towards the end of the last classroom, there is, the cracks are not straight, they're slanted. And there is a second floor. My concern is the stableness of the second floor to the first floor, being that the floor is already fixed, but the walls aren't. To the floor, they didn't clean underneath the tile, so you can see the lumps of debris. And I don't think that's a very good, for what we paid, I don't think that's a very good job.
Yes, ma'am. And we've made them redo a couple different things, and we are looking into one of those issues. As far as the wall that you're talking about, what has happened is the roof drain, and it was just designed this way, it's up at the top, and so the water just comes straight down and it pools up right next to the wall. Well, then the inside of the wall is wet, so we're looking, Mr. Rodriguez is getting with Efren Gatan, who's our grounds people, and come up with a solution so that we drain that water away from the building. So
But
we are working on it.
wasn't that part of the contract? Because that is when we brought it to the attention that the walls, and because of the sinking of the floor, the walls were losing the balances and they were uneven. And I thought that was part of the contract too with Martinez Brothers.
No, ma'am, that was outside their scope of work. And you're exactly right. What you're referring to is when they went in, the federal government and concrete the river, now all the water table has dried up. And that's the reason all along there we're experiencing cracks in buildings, is because that water table dried up and it's sinking. Okay? But as far as the outside the building, no, ma'am, that was not part of the scope of their work.
Yeah, because my concern is that, being that it's still draining, that the sheetrock can still or can lose balance on it, and I'd hate for the second floor to collapse on top of the first floor with a lot of students in there, because they still keep students up there.
Absolutely. And that's the reason we're going to get the water away from the building, and we're going to look to see about those issues, what we need to do.
Okay.
Okay? But we hadn't forgotten. We're still working on it. In fact, we talked about it this afternoon at our owners' meeting.
Now, will this be part of the Martinez Brothers? Because how would they won't be working on it? Will we be getting another contractor to fix all this?
It just depends on what needs to be done.
Okay.
Okay, and then, of course, if it's over a certain amount of money, then we have to put it out for bid, then we have to come back and ask the board for permission to do it. So it all depends on the exact scope of the work and how much that's going to be.
But isn't there warranty on this, or on the contract, or maybe an insurance that'll cover all this instead of having us to put money back on something that we already spent money and wasn't done right?
Okay, if the Martinez brothers' work was not done right, we're going to make them do it right. Okay, but this has nothing to do with the Martinez brothers. Now, the hallway, yes, but as far as those other structural issues you're bringing up, that had nothing to do with them. They were going to come in and, remember, fix the flooring because the flooring was sinking. And that's what they did. They made sure that that floor would not sink. They brought it back up. But as far as the walls and other issues, no, ma'am, that was not part of their scope of work.
But it's part of the damage that the foundation was doing.
Right, but we didn't ask them to fix that. We asked them to fix the floor so the building would quit moving.
So then you're telling me that even though the foundation is fixed, the walls are unsteady and unsafe to put students in there?
No, ma'am, the walls are okay because we had a structural engineer from HKN, and I believe he's been here at other meetings, and he evaluated and said we're okay. Now, do we want to fix those cracks? Yes, we do. Okay, but as far as movement, there's not any movement, and we're monitoring it very closely.
Okay.
Constance Holbert, we've received some pictures. Ms. Duenas has made me aware of some issues with Constance Holbert that we are sharing with VLK and the project manager. Financial report, if there's no longer any questions for me.
I'm sorry. On Constance Hubert, can the concerns that are on there, is the Martinez brothers also going to be covering? I have pictures of where the wall, and Mr. John
Klein.
Yes, from VLK, he went when we went through the walkthrough.
Yes, ma'am.
There's still an unstable, and you can't see, but you can tell that the floor is not stabled. It's still was left, and they worked on it and was not done. But even on the sides and on the top of the rooms, on every room, the ceilings are not even, and then the cracks on the walls, on the hallways, and then as you go in the 300 floor as hallway, there wasn't cracks there, but were done by breaking into the floors, and those are cracks that are still there, and they didn't fix or didn't do anything about it. How are we going to get that money back, or how are we going to get insured on that?
We have not given them a final payment. We're withholding the
Oh,
final
okay.
payment until everything is complete to our satisfaction.
And is that on Riverside also?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And we've talked about your, those concerns, and I'm glad I think you said you brought some pictures.
Right.
So we can show VLK, they can see those pictures.
Well, can we show them right now?
That's up to you all.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it all right with Ms. Woodruff?
I think that since those pictures are not part of the presentation that Mr. O'Neill is giving, and we haven't given notice to the board or to the public that we were going to show these pictures, that we're going to have to decline on that.
Why is that? It's part of the bond. And they are part of the issue and the concerns that are in those schools. Those two schools by the same contractor.
Who would be making the presentation?
I will. The pictures are already here.
Okay, well, that's the problem. You're not
You're not
on the
listed as a
agenda
presenter.
as a presenter. And the public has a right to know when any board member is going to make a presentation, especially when it's in an administrative capacity.
Okay, then I'll have to come back and bring it as an agenda item.
Yes, ma'am, you
Yes.
can do that.
That would be appropriate.
And if you'll send me those pictures too,
Okay.
I'll be happy to look at it, and so we could have a response for you.
Right, because I have been very concerned on this since September and a lot of these issues, and they have not gone done.
Okay?
And from what I hear, I hope they don't stay like that, because it just makes the situation worse. And to me and to some of the employees there, the concern is that the contractor was not doing its job.
Okay, if the contractor has not followed the scope and the quality is not to where we want, then we'll make them do it over. And I give you several examples of not only the Martinez brothers, but other contractors that haven't met our standards, and we've made them redo it. Okay?
Okay.
And that's one of the things that we assured the board that we would do, and we assured the public.
Well,
that it
for
would
the
be
record,
quality.
that's why I want to put it, because they're getting ready to leave and getting paid off. And if this is going to be the same. Now, another thing is that what I do not agree with, but I know that, but I want to bring it to the front, and that is our people from the district finishing something that they did wrong.
Anytime that
They
happens.
should be doing the work, not our grounds or our maintenance.
Right. The only one I could think of right now that has done that is the rock wall at Riverside, because we were not sure. There was a little bit of damage to the top of the rock wall behind the baseball backstop. And I told them, I told them, get it fixed, and we're going to back charge them, because I wasn't going to wait any longer.
Right, because it was, first I thought it was just one, but then I saw two more breaks on the wall.
But we're going to back charge them for any time of work we do. And I'm sorry, I overran. Ms. McLean, did you have a question
Yes,
for me?
Ms. McLean's next.
This is a question with regard to EPISD had their bond pass, and it's a very big bond, right? And I don't know if you've already discussed it at the last meeting. If you have, just let me know and I'll watch the video. But has there been any discussion with regard to concern regarding the availability of, workers, contractors and such, and how that's going to impact the projects for us?
Yes, ma'am, we sure have. We've had that conversation, and we pushed our big projects up into phase one, and so that we're way ahead of them. We're already locking down subcontractors, everybody that we need to complete our projects before they mobilize. Okay, and we're kind of keeping an eye on them a little bit too, so that we know. Because you're right, and we've said that it has the potential to impact, as Fort Bliss did when they started their building campaign, it impacted all our construction costs. So, yes, ma'am.
And we have, I think, accelerated the solicitation process to try to get the final design and contracts in front of the board before EPISD even puts out an RFP or RFQ.
Thank you.
Mr. Ramirez?
Dr. Latore, Mr. O'Neill, just wanted to say thank you very much for the update.
Yes, sir.
I personally appreciate it, in spite of the challenges. I will tell you, I also, if you would relay, I'd ask the associates if they would relate to the principals at those schools that are having to endure and be creative, our thanks as well, too, because I know that's hard work. It's hard work anyways, what they do, but it's hard work. It's hard work, one
And
of
they've
those
had a
conditions.
great attitude, yes, sir. And we'll relay, I'll make sure we relay that to them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Duenas?
Yes, Mr. O'Neill?
Ma'am.
I was going to wait till you finished all this, but going back to the fields,
Yes,
to the turfs, how about on the riverside? You said they were going to leave it like that? The lettering's bigger than the other ones?
yes, ma'am.
I think because I was promised, and I even talked to Dr. De La Torre in September about getting that fixed, and he said, yes, we'll get it the next month. Then I was given the runaround again, and said by the end of the football season. Then now, from what I hear, you tell me that they're not going to do it, they're going to leave it as is?
They've made some of the repairs that I think are warranted and valid. I think we're asking the district to spend an additional $100,000, $200,000 because you are dissatisfied with the font. That would require the rest of the trustees to agree to spend that kind of money on a field that must be at minimum 100 times better than the field they played on last year, if not for the slight disagreement with.
But that's not what you had said. That you had said they were going to get done.
They did do
and it
some
was going to
repairs.
get fixed, but it never did. It's still the same.
Well, not all of it, because we disagree
No,
on the
not
font.
the font, right. And you had said they were going to get on it
They did.
the following month. No,
They
they
did.
haven't. They have not. You told me, go and check it out, and it was not. Then on the bleachers, I have pictures of when the bleachers were not half cut, and they're half cut. I can bring them to you also and show them on one of the agenda items and bring them to see that they are, because we want them the way they were. They were cut off. What you saw right here is what there was attached to the bleachers, and now they put them on the dugouts. That's not right. I mean, how can you make a mess out of a field and then cut off bleachers and then even the rock walls? And it's a mess. And I mean, for the record, we want those bleachers the way they were. Because those bleachers, I mean, this is all these people have, the students there. And then to be cutting them off just because they dent them, they're dent. I have them even I even brought them last month when they were dent and all the dirt and all the corroded dirt and all the wood and everything that was on top of them, they were dent. Now that bleacher, that part of the bleachers are in each one of the dugouts, and I have pictures of them because I saw them myself.
Okay, if you please bring those to me. And trying to verify the information and what you'd asked, that's the reason I asked Mr. Williams to go talk to Coach Melendez, but I'll be happy to also run over to Riverside High School and talk to Coach, okay?
Right.
But absolutely, we're going to make the fields right. We're going to hold Hellas accountable, and they've really done everything we asked. We had some issues with how the project was going. We contacted them. They sent people from Austin. They increased their working. So if something's wrong, I feel very confident that Hellas will make them right.
Okay, good.
They've been
Thank
awesome. I'll turn it over now to Ms. Leeper. Are you going to do a financial report?
See if it's uploaded. Hector, can you help me with the extra slide? Thank you. It's not there? It is the yellow. You do have it in front of you, and let me actually. So I apologize. What we're going to do for you is bring back on a ledger size sheet for tomorrow evening and put it on your trays or on your desk so that you can actually read it. In PDF, it can be blown up, but obviously it's very difficult to read here. And so just briefly, let me draw your attention to the bottom right-hand column, and the very last cell tells you that we have spent 16.44% of our entire budget. We are still on time and on budget, and unless you have specific questions about a cost, I don't want to belabor the financial report. I'll give you the larger size copy, and if you have questions, you can email me, but unless there's anything else, I won't belabor this. Good?
Any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Delatorre, do we have other reports?
Ma'am, I believe we just have Ms. Champagne with us in the event that there are any questions relative to her internal audit reports.
Good evening, everyone. No question?
Ms. McLean?
Just look real quick.
Okay.
Ms. Champagne, here on your January 12th report with regard to the prevailing wage veins.
Yes.
So how big was your sample
For
as the total of the subcontractors? I mean,
but what we did, for that one, we audited 3 months. That was the available certified payroll provided to us for that
and you
particular
audited
contract.
the whole thing or just specific payments? Individual payments, did you take a sample of individual payments or did you audit every payment in that? in that 3-month
The
period?
way certified payroll does is a little bit different. Certified payroll package it's not, some vendors, some contractors put it with the pay app, which is monthly, and some submit it separately. So for the one I issue this time, it was for the 3 months available to us. So we did 3 months. Previously that we had for the last month, that one we started with 3 months and then we extended to 6 months when they were available.
I believe Ms. McLean, and I may be wrong, is asking whether or not all employees were reviewed, or was it a sample size?
Sample,
Okay.
sorry.
And how large is the sample, either
Usually-
by percentage of total employees or by number?
Usually we do about 51%.
Now, whenever you find discrepancies like this, which is, I know that you work very diligently in ensuring that the employees are paid properly. Whenever you find discrepancies, do you expand your sample or do you just, what do you do then?
We do expand the sample when those records are available. For example, in last month, we did expand to 6 months to see if those exceptions also happen in the subsequent or other months that we did not sample. And this one is because the only available was only 3 months, so we didn't expand. But for this case, we're working with VLK to sort it out because the subcontractor had some reason provided, and we are working now with them to validate the reason was acceptable or not.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think we'll take about a 10-minute recess for a health break.
Thank you.
You can put it there. Oh, yeah, let me tell you, it was not good.
Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order at 7:28. We will now review the December 14th agenda as listed in the posted notice of the regular meeting. Start with consent agenda and consent item number 1. Approve the minutes for the December 12th, 2016 workshop and December 14th, 2016 regular board meeting. Number 2, approve the resolution supporting the Dreamers of El Paso. Number 3, approve the resolution supporting the Law School Initiative. Okay. Number 4, approve a proclamation for the National School Counseling Week, February 6th through February 10th, 2017. Okay, number 5, approve a proclamation for Read Across America Day, March 2nd, 2017. Number 6, approve a proclamation for Black History Month, February 2017. Number 7, accept monthly financial statements as identified in a separate index, including quarterly investment reports as of November 30th, 2016.
I have a question.
Okay, Ms. Duenas?
Ms. Lieber, is this only up to November?
Yes, ma'am. December 31st doesn't close until about mid-January, just about now. So it'll always be about 45 days behind.
Oh, okay.
Right?
That's,
Okay, Mrs. McLean?
I don't have a specific question on a specific item. I just would like to know if there's been anything since the new fiscal year that has an extraordinary item or anything out of the ordinary that I didn't pick up in the financial statements that we should know about.
No, generally speaking, anything that, like Eastwood Knolls, where we might match HVAC conversion from general fund dollars or something like that, always has to come back to the board for approval. And then you see periodically the budget amendments. So anything like that, you're going to see. Okay?
Okay, we'll go on to number 8. Approve YSD Cooperative Requisition Number 19684 with Silsby Ford, Inc. for the purchase and delivery of 6 vehicles in the amount of $169,797 from various district funds through a purchasing co-op. Ms. Duenas has a question.
yes. I guess Mr. O'Neill. My question is, you said that it's going to maintenance and grounds, the vehicles?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How many are going to each department?
While Mr. Rodriguez works his way up to the podium,
Oh, okay.
let me just say this is that this is just the other half. As we got a budget, it was part of our regular budget to go ahead and replace the white fleet. And that I asked Mr. Rodriguez, okay, you can go ahead and spend half up the first part of the year and then come back for the rest of it, the second half, just to make sure we were okay. So, Mr. Rodriguez, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good evening. He's exactly right. This is the second half. 2 of the vehicles are for grounds, 4 are for maintenance. And that's because of the ratio. We have 53 grounds personnel and 124 maintenance personnel.
So 2 are going for grounds
Yes,
and the rest are going for maintenance?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I've seen some of our trucks stalled in the middle of traffic and everything, so I was just wondering if maybe we can get some to grounds and to maintenance.
Yes, ma'am. Every year, our goal is to provide them with new vehicles.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You withdrew your question? All right, we'll go on then to number 9. Approve award of YSD solicitation number 217018 RFP and number 217025 RFP venue rentals, parts 1 and 2 during the period of the date of award to January 31st, 2022 for $100,000 from various funds with the possibility of 5 one-year extensions contingent upon Form 1295 Certificate of Interested Parties. Ms. Duenas has a question.
On this, who do I address to?
You can address it to me.
To you, okay. Let me see. The equipments, is this the rentals for equipments or?
This is making an effort to be consistent with our procurement process. So whenever someone wants to rent a venue, if there are alternatives, then we'd like them to compete for our business. In other words, rather than allow someone to go directly to a certain venue, a dance hall, a theater, something like that, they'd have to participate in the same process. They'd have to put out what they're looking for, the number of seats that they need, any other equipment that they need. And then these organizations that operate the venue would have to compete for our business. So I couldn't have a good relationship, for example, with the Plaza Theater and decide that anytime I'm going to have a play or a concert, I don't consider anybody else. I go directly to the Plaza Theater, although there may be somebody who has the same capacity that would have charged us far less. So we're really just applying the principles of our procurement policies on venues as well. The only one that's probably a sole source is the Don Haskins is probably a sole source. The Coliseum may be a sole source, but even that is debatable.
Coliseum and Civic Center are managed by SMG, but are property of the city, so they are one of the ones that competed for this.
Is this similar to the other one that we had, I believe, a month or two that you brought
I think
forward?
that one had to do with like the jumping balloons and the...
Yes. Oh, okay.
So no,
So
that's
it's
a
nothing
separate
like
thing.
that.
That would be
Okay.
more like equipment that's utilized for these types of fall festivals, things like that.
Okay, and these are more like for...
This is for the actual facility, for the venue.
facility with, for any kind of event?
So, as Dr. De La Torre mentioned, the Don Haskins Center, because it's with UTEP, is a sole source. It's the only one of its size and capacity. The Plaza Theater, the Civic Center, the Coliseum, the Centennial Club, those are all venues that are covered by this particular solicitation.
Okay.
All right?
Ms. Woodruff,
Mr. Rosales?
I had the same questions until I read the material, and I appreciate you putting this backup material because it was very obvious that at first I had a question just like Ms. Lane's, but once I read this, it's very self-explanatory. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's go on to number 10, approve award of YISD solicitation number 217019, CSP, Communications Cabling Network, Electronics and Wireless Network, New Bel Air Middle School, E-rate year 20 during the period of July 1st, 2017 to September 30th, 2018 for $1 million. Approximately $850,000 from E-rate and $150,000 from various funds. Questions?
Yes.
Ms.
Is
Duenas?
this part of bond?
No,
Because they're both under construction.
right, because it's new construction, we're eligible for E-rate funding, and so this is to get permission to submit a grant so that the federal government pays for a large percent of the total cost to provide the infrastructure, the connectivity at these new schools, and then we would pay the residual, the remaining percentage, but then that $850,000 that were supposed to come from bond monies for the new construction would then go back into the bond fund and could be used in any way that the board would like to use it. And the grant is almost guaranteed, assuming we write the grant in the way that she has, because she recently, her and her team recently secured almost $8 million in E-rate funding that released almost $8 million of bond money to use as the board deems fit. Yeah. Good job, Gloria. And that's both number 10 and number 11.
So we'll move on to number 11 then. Approve award YISD solicitation number 217020 CSP Communications Cabling, Network Electronics, and Wireless Network, New Thomas Manor Elementary School, E-rate 20, year 20, during the period of July 1st, 2017 to September 30th, 2018 for $1 million, approximately $850,000 from E-rate and $150,000 from various funds. Number 12, approve an increase in the amount of $150,000 for YISD solicitation number 216048, CSP, Medicaid, SHARS, Special Education Management Systems, web-based online, changing the estimated annual amount to $650,000 from various district funds. Okay,
I
number,
have a question.
okay.
Is this district-wide?
It's for the SPED program, and this vendor is eSped, so yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, so number 13, approve YISD contract number 201-70219 with Region 19 for the use of any facility or venue that Region 19 regularly makes available for community use or public rental at an amount equivalent to the rental charges and related fees that are the lowest regular charges payable by a school district, local government, or nonprofit entity within Region 19 for a period of 1 year from execution, automatically renewable on an annual basis. Do you have questions? I have a question on this one. Exactly, what does this mean exactly? And that's not exactly giving a great question, but
So this is a contract with just Region 19 for the use of their properties to conduct professional development or other events like our volunteer luncheon at the Samaniego Center, where we couldn't accommodate all 1,000 volunteers. We held a luncheon here. So it's just our contract with them to rent those facilities.
okay.
I have a question now. Would this also be part of what the district pays Region 19? Is it something that they're offering us?
So this is a separate contract
Oh,
for
it's
things that,
separate.
yes, ma'am. It's a different contract that we're engaging in with Region 19 for the use of facilities.
Oh, okay. I thought it was probably with the same thing that, no.
Okay, we'll go on to number 14. Approve board resolution and award of YISD contract number 201-70225, interlocal agreement with Region 17 Educational Service Center to participate in the West Texas Food Service Cooperative during the period of August 1st, 2017 through July 31st, 2018 at no cost to the district.
I have a question. There is, I believe it's on 14, here it is. On the last page of the, I guess, the contract,
Okay.
on the very bottom, it says Region 19 instead of Region 17. Is that, and then on the other page, it says Region 17. They're two different, or it's the same one?
The contract is with Region 17. The co-op is
17?
Region
Because in
17.
the last page on the very bottom, it says 19.
Don't have the contract with me.
Dr. Ysleta, so that maybe you can let him know.
No, it just says, please circle region,
19,
but it's got 14, 15, 16, 17.
and it's 17.
Is that a typo?
Yeah,
We're entering into contract with Region 17. They want to know which region we are. So we're in Region 19.
Yes.
Oh,
It's way down at the bottom where we identify that we're Region 19
Okay.
and not 14, 15, 16,
Okay.
17.
okay.
Yes, sir. Correct.
But because I think those regions are also in an agreement or contract with 17, they want to know which one you are.
Okay. Yes,
Am I
sir.
interpreting that right?
Yes, sir, you're correct, because they do work with other regions.
Okay.
Yeah, that's confusing.
Okay, so now we're on number 15, sorry. Approve election order and notice of general election for a school board election to be held on May 6, 2017 for single-member district 1, District 3, District 5, and District 7, authorizing the administration to make any necessary changes to the order and notice of general election to reflect changes made by El Paso County as to polling place locations, dates and times, and legal review. So now then we're at number 16, approve YISD contract number 201-70246 with El Paso County to provide election duties services for the May 6, 2017 election during the period of approval for contract through completion of services at an approximate cost of $52,283 plus additional costs for runoff, if any, from local funds. I have one question on this. Is Loma Terrace included in those polling places? I wondered if it was. Because if it is, don't we need to make alternate arrangements for that? I don't mean Loma Terrace, I'm sorry, I said the wrong one. Thomas Manor. Yeah, Thomas, I'm sorry. Because Thomas.
Yes, ma'am, we had identified that Thomas Manor wouldn't be there, and we've made some arrangements to tell you exactly what that is.
Okay.
I can't tell you at this point, but yes, we have
Just as long as
recognized the fact that they're not
somebody
there.
knows.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, are there any consent items that we need to pull, or is everybody good?
I have a question. I think I missed it when you were reading it.
Okay.
Ms. Woodruff.
Which one is it?
Let's see, it's on the first one, I believe, it's the first one.
The consent item number 1,
Right.
the minutes,
No, I'm sorry, it's the second one. On the
the Dreamers?
is public relations, right?
Uh-huh.
That's doing it. Is this something that, no?
No, the Dreamers is a term given to a group of college students who during the Obama administration were given, for lack of a better word, a pardon to attend our schools, whether or not they're documented or not, and made them eligible for scholarships, financial aid, all of the things that would be guaranteed to a citizen of the United States. Barack Obama passed a bill or a law allowing them to have access and exposure to our colleges and universities. The concern is from Congressman O'Rourke, who I think is spearheading this, and he's the one making this recommendation to you, that President-elect Donald Trump not be allowed to retreat from this policy, because apparently he has implied that he would look at it. And so there are communities, especially all across the borderland, that are, I think they had an event this Sunday, as a matter of fact, down at the San Jacinto Plaza.
It was.
To show support for Dreamers. And so we are apolitical here as your superintendent, but it's coming directly from Mr. O'Rourke.
Oh, so it's an item from Beto O'Rourke?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I was also going to say that number 3 is something that we don't know a lot about. They came forward, and what the board needs to know is that there are 2 sides to this story. Not everybody is in favor of a law school in El Paso. So one of the things we could do is we could ask these folks to come before the board and explain what they hope to accomplish, and then also give somebody who opposes the law school an opportunity to come before the board and explain why they oppose it. And then the board might be better informed as to whether or not you would approve the resolution. And I just say this because they brought this to us very late in the process. We put it on in the event that all of you have already decided you want a law school, but if you haven't, then they'll have to be patient with us and allow us to hear more about it. We'll bring it back in February if you'd like.
Mr. Ramirez?
I'm just curious, what, it may not be fair to you, why do they disagree with having a law school here in El Paso?
Politics.
And it's for the record, but I'm going to try and say it delicately.
Okay, I withdraw the question. Okay, I withdraw the question, but
If there were a law school, it would likely come from the Texas Tech community, not the UTEP system.
Right, the University of Texas.
So it's kind of one of those.
But I think it would be a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, if you think
But who's sponsoring this? Who's the one that's
there's, I
bringing
think, a
it
group
forward
of
to us?
attorneys
Right.
here
That's what
locally
it said on the,
who believe that if you can have a medical school, a dental school, why not a law school?
I know there's a lot of students that parents don't want to send them out and want them to stay here, so it would be a great idea.
We serve at the pleasure of the board. We can get presentations, we can leave it on the agenda, we can bring it back February and maybe get you some written material, whatever you'd like.
I would like to hear more, but I'm very much in favor of it because
Then
ultimately, a
let's-
law school,
let's pull it off the agenda and bring it back in February with reports.
And the February meeting, we have the benefit of it happening almost the first week in February. Just the way things work out, it's the 6th and the 8th. So we're looking at, what, about a 3-week period from now? But is there any sense of urgency behind it?
Sir, if I may, Mr. Hinojosa, who is representing the law firms, and it's just a group of attorneys that want to go ahead and present this to all the different boards of directors across the public ISDs. They said that they did have a sense of urgency because they wanted to take it to the legislature and say, we have these many school districts and other county associations that support us.
Ms. McLean?
Ms.
My question is, if it's already on the agenda, we here at the workshop cannot pull it and table it. We would have to do that tomorrow, right?
Okay.
My only comment, if I may finish, is that whoever would be against it in this community needs to be examined because ultimately this is another engine that drives economic development. And if you look at the various schools such as Lubbock in Austin, when I was young and foolish and I used to go to Austin, Austin was a dirty little town that I couldn't believe. But as these schools have evolved, look at Austin today. And even Lubbock enjoys a tremendous standard of living because of the fact that they have the medical school there, the law school there, and we're very fortunate the fact that we're now getting the dental school here too, in addition to the nursing school that's already initiated at Texas Tech. So a law school to me would complement that development and would allow certain of our graduates to be able to work towards possibly entrance and maybe maintaining their residence here after they complete. So I'm much in favor of all this. Thank you.
Ms. Austin, you I don't know if you run around in that circle anymore, but do you have anything to add? Enough said.
No, I guess not.
Thank you.
Do we have any?
Maybe I'll meet with you and we can sit down and we can write something up for the board and
Do we
outline.
have any interest then in pulling this off of the consent agenda then?
I think you would
Pull it off
at
the
the meeting
consent.
tomorrow.
But I was just, one of my concerns was that I think it was 2 and 3, or vice versa, that didn't have somebody who was bringing it up forward. That's why I was.
Oh, okay. No, that would happen tomorrow, and that could be done by a vote of the board, but if the majority of the collective board wants to move forward, it remains on the agenda.
They would like it either in the February at the most, board meeting, but
Mr.
no later
Rosales,
than
you called the
February because they would
question.
like to take it back to the state
And the board
legislature.
approves it?
But this is on the consent agenda, so
Well,
I'm
if it
saying we need to pull it off of the consent agenda to consider it separately.
Right, or
don't
you
we?
could leave it on and just pass the consent agenda and by
Well, I think probably we should go ahead and pull it off the consent agenda, and then that way we can consider it separately. Yeah.
Okay.
When would we consider that, in February?
We'll consider in that.
Oh, tomorrow?
No, we'll consider it tomorrow.
Okay, that's fine then.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're back to the action items. Action item number 1, approve amendment number 2 to ISD contract number 201-60463 with Avaya. I said that wrong, I think. Avaya, Inc. for an increase of $56,800 for a district-wide security project from bond funds and contingent upon final negotiations, in-house counsel review, and Form 1295, certificate of interested parties. Ms. Duenas?
Yes. My question is, why so much money? What else does it include?
Ms. Duenas, it's for the 4 schools, and that's what it comes out to.
Just for schools?
Yes, ma'am. It's for Vista Hills, Ysleta High School, Mission Valley, and Valley View Middle School. And it's pretty much in line with what we had paid for the other schools. Now, we got a better price because we did 50-some the first time, now we're doing 4. But it's not that far off.
How many did we do the last time?
For the original count, it was 52.
52 schools?
Yes, ma'am.
And now there's only 4 and it's almost the same amount?
Oh, no. It was close to, I want to say, $800,000, if I'm not mistaken.
So the schools earlier, I think, indicated that each of the schools were between about $11,000 and $15,000, so depending on the size and the complexity. So these 4 schools at about $11,000 would be $44,000. So there may be a couple that are $13,000 or $15,000, so it's somewhere between $11,000 and $15,000 times 4. But it's consistent with what they were charging us per unit as part of the bond program.
Okay.
That takes us to number 2, approve amendment number 3 to YISD contract number 201-60314 with Architecture ILP for additional services for Tierra del Sol and Desert Air Elementary Schools kitchen / cafeteria additions and renovations project in the amount of $12,500 from bond funds and contingent upon final negotiations, in-house council review, and Form 1295 certificate of interested parties. Ms. Duenas?
Yes. Is this extra money the contractor wants for
The architect.
the architect?
Yes, ma'am, it's for the architect. And Hector, if you could put up that image real quickly, we can show you on the property. And it really has to do with Desert View. It's just part of the same bond project. That's the reason it says Tierra del Sol and Desert Air. But it's really just for Desert Air. You see this area right here I'm pointing to? Let me move it down. All right there. When we did remember we did a new addition, classroom addition at Desert Air a couple years ago. Well, the city said, now you have to come up to code with everything else. Well, part of it is we had to come up to code with this parking, with the easement, but for some reason it didn't get done. So now the city caught it because we went out for a permit for the kitchen. So now they're saying, wait a minute, this area was not fixed the way it should have been. Now we want you to fix it. And it has to do with city code, as easements and things. So that's what it's for. It's just for Desert Air. And it's something in order to get a permit the city wants us to get done. So for $12,500, the architect will design it.
Yeah, okay, I'm familiar with that, very familiar with that, because I believe that Riverside was in that situation when I came in, and we had to take it to city council to get it for the $300,000 of penalty of that. But I had a question on something. From what I'm hearing, is there a reason why we're not getting permits on some of the issues at our grounds?
No, ma'am, not to my knowledge. Now, they might ask us to do certain things, and we come back and we negotiate with them and talk about it and ask them, okay, is this necessary? And sometimes they change their mind. They don't ask us to do it. But that's just part of the construction project, the business, and getting, sitting down and talking to city reps, because everybody interprets policy a little bit different. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes that leads to some additional conversation. But right now, we've got a permit for everything we've asked for.
Okay. Yeah, because it's very difficult to have and do projects, but not with city permits. It's going to be triple the penalty for us.
A couple years ago, when I first got here, some of our operations people were doing things without permits, and
Right.
Mr. Rodriguez has stopped that. So we have not had any issue with any city inspector about doing any work without a permit. He's made sure of that.
Okay, thank you.
Feel very good about the work he's done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. McLean?
I just have a question with regard to tomorrow's motion. Does it read only desert air?
And that side will have to refer, because it's the same bond, you know, the bond package, it's that, what is it, 03? 07, there, those two schools are on there, but it has to just do with desert air. So your question is, and I would refer that to legal, do we need to word the motion differently in order to be in compliance, is your question? We're good. Thank you. Thank you.
So then, next is closed executive meeting, the annual evaluation of the superintendent. Number 2, discuss candidates for Chief Human Resources Officer position. And number 3, self-evaluation of individual board members. Then we'll reconvene in open session, and if there's action to be taken on the annual superintendent evaluation, we will do that. That covers our agenda. Do I have a motion for adjournment? Thank you very much. Oh, that's right, meeting adjourned at 7:59. Sorry about that. I'm just ready to go. Thank you.